Hello everyone and welcome to 9-inch Charge. Today we have another WARSCROLL review. It's quite an exciting WARSCROLL. It's one I've been looking forward to seeing and it's finally been put out there on the internet. You may have seen it already. It is the Lady of Vines. As you all know, the Lady of Vines is a character who's existed in the Sylvaneth lore for a long time, but she has finally been given a fantastic model and she'll be able to be represented and played on the tabletop. So let's check out this WARSCROLL. Let's see how she stands up. I'm really excited for this because the Lady of Vines was made from Alariel's own hand, so she's actually made of the same substance as gods. Just before we delve into this WARSCROLL, if this is the kind of content that you would like to see, please let me know by leaving this video a like. And if you're interested in Warhammer the Old World or Warhammer Age of Sigmar news, rules and lore, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Lady of Vines has a move of 8 inches, a save of 3+, a bravery of 10, 10 wounds, and carries the keywords Order, Sylvaneth, Forest Folk, Hero, Wizard, Branch Wraith, and Lady of Vines. Movement 8 is really fast for an infantry type character, but my understanding is that the model is actually pretty big, so that makes sense. A normal Branch Wraith has movement 7, so that puts her 1 point faster than a normal Branch Wraith. 3-up save, I think, is just brilliant. I end up saying this a lot. We all know All Out Defense can make this a 2+ save, and really, in my mind, there's no getting any better than that. As for talking Bastilla-Dons or something really crazy. And 10 wounds makes her really durable, especially in a Sylvaneth army. You know, this army is the realm of life come alive. So in the new battle tome, I'm sure there's going to be ways to heal as well. The Lady of Vines is armed with a spear called Kernothiel's Wrath, and of course she is armed with Lashing Vines. The spear can be used as a missile weapon and as a melee weapon, so let's have a look at its missile characteristic. It has a range of 18+, it has 1 attack, so she can throw it once, it hits and wounds on 2s, has a rend of 1 and does a damage of d6. It is only 1 attack, but with 2s and 2s it is actually more likely to hit and wound than not. The only thing that lets it down is that it only has a rend of -1, so against your tough targets it might not penetrate their armor. But what's really cool about it is that it does d6 damage. So what I'd like to see this do is to go into a unit that's got quite a low armor save and a low wound count, something like your battle line infantry, which actually is going to become more significant as we've seen in the new General's Handbook. And the d6 wounds for me will just represent how many it skewers as it passes through the unit. So if you roll a 4, it's just torn through 4 guys. I think that would be really cool and very thematic. The other thing that's really scary about this is I'm thinking about your low level heroes, your battle mages, things like that. You know, they have a wounds characteristic of 6 or less. There is a chance if you hit and wound with this, it's going to be really scary for your opponent, because if they fail that armor save and you roll a 5 or a 6, you will be able to just take a character off the table. So I think there is actually plenty of fun to be had with this. I know it's only rend 1, but I do think there are going to be games if you consistently use her where it overperforms. Okay, so let's move on to her close combat attack. So we've got Kernothiel's Wrath again, and in combat this has a range of 3 inches. It has 3 attacks instead of the 1, although now it hits and wounds on 3s. It still has a rend of 1 and its damage is reduced to d3. It's interesting to me that it has more attacks in close combat but it's less effective. I still think this is going to be an effective weapon. I mean, it's 3 attacks, it hits on 3s, all out attack is going to make that 2s. So overall, not too bad. Again, just suffers from the rend 1. The vines have got a really similar characteristic actually. So the Lashing Vines have a 3-inch range. They have 4 attacks instead of 3. 3s to hit, 3s to wound, rend 1, and a flat damage of 2 instead of d3. So the only thing that really separates these in combat is that the vines have +1 attack and they do 2 damage instead of the spear's d3. It does make me wonder why the spear doesn't have a flat 2 damage in combat, because you're going to get 2s on average anyway, and it would just make things easier if you could roll all the dice at the same time and then not have to pick out the ones that do d3 wounds instead of 2s. I mean, it's a very, very small point, but it would just make the character a bit easier to use. and the rules a bit easier to remember. But 7 close combat attacks like this for a hero type that she is really good. Especially when there is a potential wound output here of 17 wounds, which is pretty fearsome actually. But where the Lady of Vines really shines is not in her combat prowess, but it's in her abilities. So let's move on to that section of her war scroll. The first rule on her war scroll is War Master. If this unit is included in a Sylvaneth army, it is treated as a general, even if it is not the model picked to be the army's general. This is really cool for issuing commands and things like that, and is something that we spoke about when we did the lore video about her. So if you're interested in her lore, check out the video. But what we said was there that she carries so much presence and so much weight within the Sylvaneth army that even Tree Lord Ancients obey her command. So I like this for fluff reasons, and it will have good benefits on the tabletop as well. She's also a wizard, but this unit can attempt to cast 2 spells in your hero phase and attempt to unbind 2 spells in the enemy hero phase. She doesn't get any buffs to her spell casting or unbinding, but it's cool that she's able to cast one of her own spells and also take one from the Sylvaneth lore, so it gives you options. And it's only right because, let's be honest, she is better than your normal Branch Wraith. She's your Branch Wraith dialed up to 11. Her next ability is the Viridian Crown. The power of the Everqueen herself pulses through the Lady of Vines and radiates from the ornate crown she bears. Friendly Sylvaneth units wholly within 6 inches of this unit are treated as being wholly within 6 inches of an awakened wildwood in your army. This is really significant and really cool, and it gets cooler the further we get on the war scroll. But the reason why it's cool, first and foremost, is because this means that you can travel the spirit paths to her or from her. This rule, for those unfamiliar with Sylvaneth, is how Sylvaneth can teleport between wildwoods and overgrown terrain features. So if you need a unit across the tabletop and they're by an overgrown terrain feature or an awakened wildwood, you can bring them to her. Units near her can also travel. And what's also really cool is that you are always, for the purposes of rules, in range of yourself. So she is within 6 inches of awakened wildwood, so she can just teleport from anywhere on the tabletop to any awakened wildwood or overgrown terrain feature. Really, really cool. Next is Writhing Vines. The whipping tendrils that sprout from the lady's back can ensnare foes and confound their attacks. At the start of the combat phase, if this unit is within 3 inches of any enemy units, you can say that this unit will either create a protective barrier or ensnare foes. If this unit creates a protective barrier, subtract 1 from rolls to hit that target that unit until the end of the phase. If this unit ensnares foes, add 1 to hit rolls for all attacks made by this unit until the end of the phase. This kind of debuff is really cool because it can negate all-out attack, so you can go up against her, you can try and fight her and get all-out attack, but then actually you spent that command point, and the Writhing Vines just mean that actually you're going to subtract 1 from hit rolls, so you're back where you started. Also, ensnare, add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by this unit to the end of the phase. That's really cool because that is all-out attack without having to spend a command point. Of the two, I can see the debuff being more handy just because it's really great to be able to negate your opponent's use of their command points. Next we have Rouse to Wrath. Now, Rouse to Wrath is a spell, or was a spell, that all Branch Wraiths had, and now it seems to have become an ability. So I'll be very interested to see if this becomes an ability on the Branch Wraiths Raw Scroll when that gets updated as well. The lady sings to her people through the realm roots, calling them forth to join the reaping. Once per battle, if this unit is on the battlefield at the end of the movement phase, you can say it will call forth its allies. If you do so, roll a dice, and on a 2+, you can summon 1 unit of 10 Dryads and add it to your army. The summoned unit must be set up more than 9 inches away from all enemy units and wholly within 9 inches of an overgrown terrain feature or awakened wildwood in your army. So it's gone from being a spell to a one-use ability, but it is always done on a 2+, so it's very likely. And if you have this and a Branch Wraith, you know, you're pretty likely to be able to add 20 Dryads to your army. It's also completely rangeless. Obviously, they have to be set up within 9 inches of an overgrown terrain feature or an awakened wildwood, and more than 9 inches away from enemy units, but that is anywhere on the tabletop, which is really cool. And the other thing, if we go back to the crown that we talked about before, the Viridian Crown, this means they can be set up within 6 inches of the Lady of Vines herself, because she counts as being an awakened wildwood for units within 6 inches of her. I think this is really thematic because you can imagine her kind of pulling a bodyguard out the spirit paths to defend herself. And I would also say that included in her points cost, pretty much guaranteed as a unit of 10 Dryads. What I also like about this ability is that it kind of mirrors what Alarielle the Everqueen does herself with her summoning. So yeah, very cool rule, really like it. And last, we have the aspect of the Everqueen, and this is her spell. The Lady of Vines channels the power of her goddess mother, shielding fellow Sylvaneth with the harnessed energies of nature. Aspect of the Everqueen is a spell with a casting value of 7 and a range of 12. If successfully cast until your next hero phase, friendly Sylvaneth units have a ward save of 5+ while they are wholly within range of the caster. I think this spell is brilliant. A 5+ ward save is phenomenal because obviously you get this after your normal save. It gives you protection from mortal wounds. It's not a bad save either. It's a 1 in 3 chance to negate it. And a 12-inch range is actually quite large because, you know, you take that as a bubble, it's 24 inches, add the distance of her base, and then I think this is pretty game-changing. She doesn't get any buffs to cast. A 7 is an average dice roll, so on average you will get this. It's kind of a 50-50 kind of spell, but when it does go off, it is really going to work for you. And that is every ability on her War Scroll. As I said, the Viridian Crown really stands out to me because it enables her to teleport and it enables people to teleport to her. It's cool that she is able to cast and unbind 2 spells. She has a nice buff and debuff. She can summon. I mean, she just does everything really. And I think she's a jack of all trades. And that spell definitely means she's not a master of none. I really hope people take her on the tabletop because she's a fantastic model with fantastic lore. I'd be really interested to see how she stacks up alongside Dryka, who is the other Branch Wraith hero that we've got, but we'll have to wait for the Sylvaneth battle tome before we're able to do a side-by-side comparison and see who is winning the Battle of the Branch Wraiths. So now I really cannot wait for the battle tome to drop. Every time something comes out and we find out a little bit more about this new Sylvaneth battle tome, the more excited I get. It's just going to be absolutely glorious. Thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to leave a comment and let me know what you think. I do read every single comment. If you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like. And if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you'd like to take the conversation even further, you can join the 9 Inch Charge Hobby Hangout group on Facebook. This is a place for us to come together as a community and encourage each other and chat about our hobby, and feel free to share your models, thoughts, ideas, or ask any questions that you may have. There's a link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can find a link in the description to our Patreon page, or you could become a YouTube member. And you can also support the channel by using the affiliate link we have to Element Games. They have a really extensive hobby range. I'm sure you can find anything that you're looking for on there, and they also sell it at a discount to Games Workshop. And if you use the affiliate link, we get a small amount of commission back that we can use to put back into the channel. As ever, this has been 9 Inch Charge. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.